Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United 2, Burnley 2. And as bad as a result that is, it somehow doesn't feel as bad as the week we've had in relation to sacking our manager, WILCOX, madness, Ollie coming back. Somehow drawing to Burnley isn't the most embarrassing thing that's happened to us this week, is it? But look, so much to talk about. I'm genuinely starting to get worried now, though. Like, seriously, like... I know the fans at the ground were singing Ollie's at the wheel and singing songs about Carrick, and they've got every right to do that. You know, our support is absolutely fantastic, but that type of behaviour is why we will never be a serious club, because they're bringing Ollie in to silence you and detract you from the real issues at Manchester United, which is the fact that our ownership is shit. I mean, we've sacked a manager this week because he demanded signings, right? And I've just watched United drop points to Burnley with a different manager and the same problems. The midfield is just dead. Any manager, Eddie Howe, Sean Dyche, Nuno, Pep, Arteta, they'd all say, get me midfielders in January. And how many times have we flirted with top? I mean, we were actually, when we were beating Burnley, we were fourth. We were actually fourth on the table when we were beating Burnley. And we're now down to sixth, I think. So... It's a massive problem. Remember the... look, this is not about Ollie. This is not about Amrim. Amrim is gone. And there is things about Amrim tonight that he got proved wrong on. But there's things tonight he got proved right on. And the most important thing... Look, for one, Bruno's a number 10. I'd have sold Bruno in Amrim's team because we're seventh. We're actually seventh. Newcastle won. How are Newcastle ahead of us? What? You know what? If Newcastle are ahead of us, I'm going to be bloody angry. Oh, come on. Our Newcastle... Where have they come from? Fucking hell. I thought they'd drawn. Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, I mean, God. I mean, that's not good, is it? So we're seventh now. But look, the thing I was going to say is that, look, Bruno Fernandes is a 10, and I would have sold him... I would have sold Bruno as a midfielder. But as a 10, that's where he should play. And it got proven tonight, didn't it? But where Amrim trumps that is buy me a midfielder in January, and the club said no. So forget Ollie. Ollie would have been crying tonight. He'd have been like, I need Darren, Fletcher, I need you to win to give me a chance. It's going to be too hard if you don't win. And I think it is going to get too hard, because when you look at the international break, we sat there in November and went, we've got 10 winnable games and it finishes with Burnley. So all these Wolves and Evertons and Bournemouths and Crystal Palaces and West Hams and Burnleys and Leeds, these were all really winnable games in November. And we were talking about minimum 24 points from 30. You know how many we've taken? 14. We've taken 14 points from 30. And most of the teams who were playing were bottom half teams. And a lot of them were relegation teams. We've taken 14 points from 30. Now, Amrim didn't get sacked because of that. Amrim got sacked because he said, I need midfielders. So they've sacked him for telling the truth. And then they brought another guy in who is struggling because we haven't got midfielders. This is all on the board. This is all on Sir Jim. This is all on WILCOX. This is nothing. Amrim's gone. This is not on Fletcher, and it won't be on Ollie. This is on the board. The fact that they won't buy a midfielder. And look, the first goal is because Casemiro loses his man. Their second goal is because we get 2-1 in front and we can't control a game. I'm tired. We're fine when we're chasing a game. We're fine when we're trying to score a goal. But the minute we get control of... How many times this season have we been in front and given up a lead? We can't control a lead. We're all over Burnley at 1-0 down. We get 2 goals. We're creating loads of chances. The minute we get to 2-1, we think, right, naturally, we just need to control the game for 10 minutes. And we can't do it. And then they score. They never look like scoring. But as soon as we're ahead, they go and score. Because we haven't got a midfield to control the game. We can't control games. And this is going to be a massive problem. This is why I'd go for Carrick, because at least Carrick played midfield and he might be able to give us a glow up in there. I mean, a bloody miracle. But we're not going to get European football if we don't buy a midfielder in January. And nobody can tell me that Conor Gallagher wouldn't have been the best player on the pitch for us today. And nobody can tell me that Ruben Neves wouldn't be the best player on the pitch. So I would, if we're not going to get a midfielder, you've got to go for Carrick because he played in the fucking midfield. The midfield is killing us. It's killing us. We created a lot of chances today. And look, there was no long throw-ins. In fairness to Fletcher, right? In fairness to Fletcher, there were no long throws. He put Bruno at number 10. And he put 2 natural wingers on the pitch. I mean, Cunha's not a natural winger, but he tried. But Dorgu is a natural winger, left-footed. He, you know, I didn't have a problem with the way he lined us up. We just had a problem with the players. It's fucking Burnley. Burnley had scored 8 goals at home all season. They've just scored 2. So 20% of Burnley's home goals are against us. So, look, this fundamentally comes back to the ownership and Jason Wilcox. They've made this decision. You're meant to... You know what's meant to happen when you sack your manager? There's meant to be a bounce. You know, it's Burnley. They're second bottom. This is meant... And not only that, we desperately needed to win. So forget your bounce. Forget the fact that Burnley are shit. We absolutely needed to win. We needed to win the game. And we should have won the game, and we couldn't win the game. That's on Wilcox, that's on Sir Jim, that's on Barada. It's a fucking joke. And every time the camera pans to them, I don't know whether I'm unique with this, but every time the camera pans to Barada and Wilcox, I'm like, who are they? Who are you? I don't feel any little bit that, you know when it used to go to David Gill? Or even Ed Woodward? And he was shit. But even when it did, I felt, well, they are Man United in some way, shape or form. With Barada and Wilcox, I'm like, who are they? And I feel like Wilcox is going to do the Ronnie Pickering thing. I'm Jason Wilcox. Yeah, who? I'm Jason bloody Wilcox. Yeah, who? I'm Jason Wilcox. I'm Jason Wilcox. And it's like, I just don't feel anything towards them. They look like a couple of bloody... Look like Bill and Bob down your local bloody Legion. You know, they're playing bloody dominoes or something. Yeah, it's on them. It's not on Fletcher. You know, I don't want to see any bad words against Fletcher. I think he did what he could with the team. Obviously, when Bruno came off, we dropped off as well. Mount wasn't very good. Xerxes wasn't very good. Cunha didn't have a great game. We'll do the player ratings in a minute. I think if Bruno stays on for 90 minutes, we probably do find a way to win the game. But, you know, it's a miracle he was back after 2 weeks from a hamstring injury. So we can't say that. Obviously, I think Lacey... You know, it would be wrong not to speak about him. So unlucky. I mean, I wish that had gone in. I think we all wish that had gone in. You know, I know it's only bloody Burnley, but, you know, a star is born if that goes in. A star could be born anyway. But if that goes in, it's like Everton and Rooney, isn't it, against Arsenal? He shouldn't have tried that shot at the end, but it shows he's a very confident player. I've said to you for a while, he's got very similar attributes to Phil Foden, who's a fantastic player. So, look, but you know what? What I would say about Lacey is well done to him. I thought his cameo was very exciting, but he can't be that you know, we'd be idiots to say, oh, we're all right, because he's a kid. We can't, I agree, remember the name, and he's been, you know, you should know the name. He's been spoken about for a few years, and he's very, very talented, but we can't rely on Lacey to get this club into the top 4. That's ridiculous. You know, he's a kid. And also, he's not a bloody midfielder. Darren Fletcher, if he's honest, he was a former midfielder himself. He would say the reason we haven't won that game is because I haven't got a midfield. I can get by with the back 4 and I can score goals with the attack, but I can't win games because the midfield's shit. And this is not on Amorim because he had the same problem, and it's not on Fletcher, and it won't be on Solskjaer. This is on the board. Like the fact that they can't see we need a midfielder, the fact that they sacked Amorim because he wanted a midfielder is on them. And I, as a United fan, want that Lacey goal to go in. I want us to win. We need the 3 points. But there is a bit of justice there. There is a bit of I told you so there towards the board to say that result's on you. That's on you. And every point we drop from now on is on you. It's not on a coach. It's not on the players. There is not a midfield that is good enough to keep us in this easiest of Champions League races. I mean, the fact that we have taken 14 points from 30 against bottom half teams is absolutely ridiculous. But it just shows you, even 4 more points than that would put us in the top 4. 5 or 6 would put us in there comfortably. We've absolutely bottled getting in the Champions League so far this season. But I do think that this goes beyond the coaches. It's not Fletcher. It's not Amrim. It's not the players to a certain extent. It just comes down to the direction of the football club. Any idiot can see that we need to spend now on midfielders and not in the summer. And you know what scares me is that you get David Ornstein or Fabrizio Romano or Ben Jacobs or whoever saying that Man United's plan in the summer is to buy in the midfield. And I'm like, you know, people are singing Solskjaer's name. You know, singing a song and PR will not defeat spending money where it's needed. You know, we can't sing our way to the top 4. It won't work. We can't. We need to spend our way to the top 4 because we don't have a midfield. So thinking Ollie's going to come in and we're all going to sing about a fucking bus and get into the Champions League is very far-fetched to actually buying a midfielder. And this is the strategy, isn't it? You know, all they've done this week is basically fuck up big time and then shit themselves and go, the protests are going to start. It's going to go really bad for us. Oh, I know. Let's get the guy back that we spent £10 million sacking. We gave Ollie £10 million to sack him. We're going to pay him to come back. I mean, this is on the level with Pogba. Let's let Pogba go on a free, and then let's buy him back for £90 million. It's classic United all over the place. But the only reason they're going for Ollie is because they don't want to spend money in January and they don't want people to be shouting at them. So if you get Ollie back, you don't have to spend money in January and you get a load of people singing and forgetting about what the real problem is. What really should be happening is that an ambitious club would say, we've got a great chance of getting in the Champions League if we buy a midfielder. So what they should have done is back Amrim, but he's gone. What they should now do is go and get a manager. You know, whether it's a Xavi or you get Glasner out of Palace, you spend the money, you get your manager in and you spend your money in January and you make sure you're in the Champions League in the summer because that's £100 million we're not going to have if we don't do that. So, look, we still could get Europe. You know, miracles can happen, but I think we're staring down the barrel now. We're dropping too many points. You know, if I'm Solskjaer, I'm looking at the next 2 Premier League games and I'm going, it's Man City and Arsenal. If I don't win either of those, look, we might get something out of Man City. They're dropping points at the moment, but they're very difficult games. If we don't, and Brighton's difficult on Sunday, so if we get knocked out by Brighton and we lose to Man City and Arsenal, we're going to be standing still in 7th with 6 points gone, and everyone else is going to get points. By the time we hit the end of the month, we could be out the FA Cup and in the bottom half of the table very, very quickly. So today scares me because what we're going to have to do now is see a massive, massive improvement. We need to beat Brighton and we need to beat City and we need to draw against Arsenal just to stay in the race for the Champions League. And that's going to be very, 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 very difficult because looking at the Premier League at the moment, not everybody's going to keep playing each other. So we've got 32 points. If we lose to City, you've got Chelsea a point behind, Fulham a point behind, Sunderland 2 points behind, Brighton 3 points behind, and Everton 3 points behind. So we lose to City, how many of those are going to go past us? And how many teams above us are going to start creating a gap? You then lose to Arsenal. You know, we could be in a really bad situation very, very quickly. We needed that. We needed 3 points today. We needed 3 points today, big time. It makes scary viewing when you look at that league table and our next 2 games and everybody else around us. It really is. But look, that's, you know, ultimately, you know, some of us are very switched on and we're not buying into the bullshit. Basically, what we had on Sunday was a manager saying, back me or sack me. And they've said, we'll sack you then. And now we're going to get an interim who's going to say, I don't need to be backed. I'm just happy to be here. And fundamentally, all I want us to do is buy a fucking midfielder in January. That's all I want. Whether Amrin was here or Ollie's here, just buy a fucking midfielder. Because if we don't do it, I'm very worried about the Champions League. I'm very worried about Europe altogether now. You just simply cannot drop points to Burnley and Wolves and West Ham. You can't. You can't take 3 points from 9 against Burnley, West Ham and Wolves. You just can't do it. And Leeds and Bournemouth and Everton. You just can't drop the points we've dropped and think you're going to be in the Champions League. You just can't. But as I said, I think Fletcher did as well as he could tonight. With 2 days training and the players he's got, I think Fletcher did. I ain't got any problem with Fletcher. This is completely on the decision. I mean, everything that's going wrong now is completely on the board. It is. And you can blame some of the players, but the players, we know the players are the problem. We know the players that are the problem. You know, we do. But this is on the board. Completely on the board. It's crap. A lot of people are talking about Lacey. We've spoken about that. But on a serious note, fantastic young player. But can we talk about the shit show that United are and how perilously bad things are getting? Like, Lacey's not going to be able to play every week and score hat-tricks and get us into the Champions League. Like, get serious. If we want Lacey to be the player he can be, he needs good players around him, which we're severely lacking at the moment. Shahin, let me get into some of your comments, then we'll do the player ratings. We've dropped at least 10 easy points, says Shahin. It's going to catch up on us. It's going to catch up on us. I mean, I was looking at this today, like, you know, we've just been through our easiest section of the season. The last 10 games are as easy as it's going to get for us, and we've took 14 points from 30. We have now got a run of, in the league, Man City at home, then we've got Arsenal away, then we've got Fulham at home, then we've got Spurs at home, West Ham away, Everton away, Crystal Palace at home. I mean, look, we can win some of these, but they're not as easy as we had. Newcastle away, Villa at home, Bournemouth away, Leeds at home, Chelsea away, Brentford at home, Liverpool at home, Sunderland away, Forest at home, Brighton away. Those fixtures, there's some wins there, but they're not as easy. You know, we've played Wolves twice. We've played Burnley twice. You know, we fucked up a lot of easy games. And today, it's a 38-game season, and you don't really figure it out until 32 games where you really are, because you might have played a load of easy teams and dropped points, and then you've got to try and win against bad teams. So they fucked this up big time. You know, it's going to take something miraculous now for us to turn this around. We've really fucked up. And it all comes down to Ineos, the board, because we can't not be in Europe 2 years in a row. And that's all I'm worried about now. We can't not be 2 years in a row. S. Don says Amrim's fault. How can it be Amrim's fault when he was asking them to buy players in January, and we all know we need to do that. We can win these games. Famous last words, says one and only. Manchester United feels stuck between the Glazers won't sell, leaving fans hoping a new CEO can overhaul the structure, raise standards and rebuild a winning culture. Without major change at the top, progress seems impossible, says football analyst. As I said, I did that video in my garden a couple of days ago. I don't see a way back, and I think we are finished. So I'm not ranting and raving, because I just think, you know, rather than and I'm so glad Sesko scored 2 goals tonight, because if we'd drawn that game and he hadn't scored, a lot of people would be going, Tesco, shit, this, that and the other. I'm quite glad that there's not really any players to blame. You can't really blame Fletcher. The focus and blame is exactly where it needs to be. And if I was to Jim Radcliffe, I'd be sacking Wilcox in the morning. I would. I think he is just beyond repulsive when it comes to what he's done to this football club. And I don't see him winning that back. I think he has to go, really. As Irish are claiming Lacey, says Sound Dog. I can't believe what's happening, says Finley to us. We were so good back then, and now we're finished. Sir Alex is so disappointed. Bruno's still too deep for me, no pun intended, says Nath. Delo and Shaw are a disgrace. It's hypocrisy. I mean, they're just, I wouldn't call them a disgrace. They're not good enough. I didn't even notice that Delo was playing. I think Luke Shaw hasn't got the legs for that position either. I mean, look, we talk about the midfield. I did mention this after Leeds before Amram got sacked. It just reminded me. We talk about the midfield, but the second biggest area is in Amram's system, the width was so important and we haven't got good enough players. Well, now we're going to a back four. The width is even more important. Width was very important in an Amram system, but in a back four, it's really important. We've got no width. We've got no width. Luke Shaw can't do that job anymore. Delo can never do it. All right, you've got Ahmad, Mazraoui and Burmo and Dorgu coming back, but, you know, we haven't got three of those players at the moment. We dropped at least 10 easy points, says Shahan. There's no pace and no urgency, says Mr. Whelan. When the going gets tough, Ollie gets rough, says PMP. Sesko proved you wrong tonight, Mark. Trust Fletcher. Mate, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Proved me wrong? Proved me wrong? When have I said Sesko's a bag of shit and we should get rid of him? Nah. You're getting mixed up with your content creators, mate. You've been watching too much Sky Sports. I've never said Sesko's a bag of shit. I've said he's a learner driver and we're going to have to be patient with him and we should have gone for a more experienced striker in hindsight. But I've never said he was a bag of shit and I've never said that. So you can piss off with your labels there, mate. I said sell Bruno as a midfielder. Glinios out, says Mario. Is it just me that thought Mainu played well? Once he gets more minutes, he's going to shine. Yeah, biggest ball knowledge. I'm sort of past caring about individual performances because we've dropped points to Burnley and I'm not player FC. I want Man United in Europe and we're in a fucking state. So I'm probably not the person to ask about individual performances other than Lacey, who I thought was very impressive, because I'd rather we played shit and beat Burnley. That's the most important thing. We can't forget Ollie got sacked for a reason, says Nate. I'm convinced they play Goldbridge Burnley clips before the game for motivation, says Matteo. Forgetting about the mess we're in for the moment, Casemiro and Shaw are liabilities. Does anyone else think Martinez slows us down? I think Jerry Martinez is a fantastic player, but I think he struggled today and I think he's, you know, coming back from a long time out as well and we're asking him to play a lot of football. I worry about Martinez because I think he might be playing a little bit too much football for how recently he came back, because he didn't look at his best today. Casemiro's legs are gone, says Irfan. He's like a racehorse whose legs are gone. I agree with you there, Irfan. Anyway, we can buy anyone in January, says Anthony. Mate, look, they're saying they're not going to buy anybody. I wouldn't be surprised if they're forced into doing something they don't want, because it's absolutely essential that we do it. And they're saying they're not going to do it, and they weren't going to do it. And they said to Amram they won't do it, and they're not going to do it. But as I said, I can't see how they can't do it. All eyes are on the board, and we've got two very difficult games coming up. So unless we do a madness and beat Man City and Arsenal, which, to be fair, we have done those things in the past. Mourinho did it. I think Ollie did it once. You had two really difficult games and you go and win them. But we sort of need that, or we need to buy. Should play Martinez and Mainu in the midfield, says Quinster. Jason Watercock, pass it on, says Anthony. Can we just remember we probably have a worse team now than we did when Ollie was here first, says Anthony. Burnley econising with their only shot on target. What a joke. United's poor finishing ability to need to be studied, says Marlow. Sesko proved you wrong tonight. Back the youth, says Fian. A second one. I would love to see you on Sky Sports. Shout out Ineos, says Lewis. The thing that makes me most upset is the fact that Nuno Mendes wanted to come last December and the club decided to buy Dorgu. I don't think he did, though, did he? Football analyst. I know we wanted him. We're never going to get top four, not a chance, not a hope in hell. Sixth at best, I'm saying eighth, says Glenn. You know what I will say, though? Amrin would have got us top six. He would have done. Might not have been pretty, but he would have done. Sean McDermott's been a member for 25 months. There are up to 400 billion stars in our galaxy and none are present at Man United. Do you think Man United win the league in the next 10 years, says King? Probably not. The fact that WILCOX and Barada are seated comfortably thinking Casemiro and Agate are getting us top four is ridiculous. We need two midfielders in January, says King. Announce Ollie tomorrow. Put it out there that we're going for a centre midfielder in January. Calm the storm. Rinse, repeat. They're businessmen, not football lovers. United's dead, says Hitton. It's obvious he has Cox in his name because he sucks, says Justin. If we go with Carrick, we're going to play a three at the back. His teams play a three at the back. We need midfielders and sell Mainu and WILCOX out, says Dante. Worst week mentally for me in a long time. It just feels like there's no future to look forward to, says Ben. Well, stay with the community. At least we've got each other. Shea Lacey's is going to go far, says Mr. Saunders. We're 3 points away from 12th and City and Arsenal next, says James. Mark, I have a theory. Ruben was promised 2 midfielders, didn't get any midfielders and was forced to play Bruno in the midfield, and they thought they weren't going to get to spend as much on a striker, says Football Analysts. Lacey starts Sunday. Manu needs minutes, says Chris. We need to win on Sunday. I don't care who starts. We need to win. Fletcher making exactly the same mistakes as Amrim, keeping Casemiro on for too long and trying to defend a lead, says Marlow. But you know what, Marlow? When you concede a goal, you absolutely should make sure that the opposition don't score for the next 5 minutes. Most teams do it. So I haven't got a problem when we go ahead, just shutting things down for a bit. But we can't do. We just can't do it. So it's impossible for us because we can't hold on to a lead. Arsenal and City next, says Boogie. I understand your take on Bruno at 10, but he's been assisting like that all season while covering Casemiro's errors. We've needed Bruno next to him. Absolutely not, Ty. Bruno can't make that assist playing in the midfield. He's literally in the number 10 position, off the striker, passing it to Sesko. He can't do that from midfield. Even Sky were talking about the midfield, by the way. How obvious do you need it to be? Forget Anderson and Wharton. They ain't coming. Just get Neves or Gallagher or someone, says Emily Derry. Spot on. Amount of goals we concede from nothing is a joke, says Marble. Lacey cameo was fire, says Kyle. Fletcher midfielder, says Dave. We don't even get a new manager bounce. We don't get new manager bounces anymore, Go. You're right. We don't. We didn't get one with Ranić. We didn't get one with Amrim. Yeah. Newcastle won in the 112th minute, says Water Roots. That's a bad win for us. I genuinely can't be bothered anymore, says Slow Sports News. This WILCOX needs to go. Him and Barada can do one and swivel. I'm not normally angry, but these prats can do one. Boycott the next game, says Paddy. When we protesting, get the clowns out, says Connor. There was no intensity, no second balls were won. Midfield lost. I don't know whether there would pressing intensity, says Vidge. Look, I feel sorry for whoever takes the interim job. I really do, because the midfield is so important. It's where games are won and lost. And we don't have a midfield. I would try Manu there. And see what he can do. Because if we stick with Casemiro, we're in trouble. I get being upset with the long-term strategy of the club, but it's Burnley. You need to beat Burnley. Almost every single player needs to be replacing. Your club is a decade away from being back, says Rogan. Club spinner back four will solve our problems. No need for a midfielder. Expose the crap it was with Barada and WILCOX watching from the stands, says Emily Derry. We need to have a serious talk about Cunha. He's not a youngster from another league, says Marlow. Sacking Amrim has probably put us back another 5 years, says Glenn. First game grace, but Bruno out and early. He was performing well. Had to come off because of his injury return, Soy. Casemiro needs to go, says Dung. Are we the only top 6 team ever that's drawn with all 3 teams in the relegation spaces, says South Holland. Bruno is like a crutch we can't walk without. He dictates our tempo, says Neo. Are you ready for the spin tomorrow? Ollie as interim, says Stephen. Yeah, I am. Fletcher only exposes more issues. Respect Bruno as a 10, though, says Nath. First time in my life I wanted us to concede. I've watched over 400 games, says Happy Hour. I'd rather sink the ship and watch the captains abandon it. I mean, it is a theory. Welcome to Members Club, Jerry. Look, I'm going to do the player ratings, and they're waiting patiently for the fan forum. But what I would say about the formation is the formation was always a smokescreen. Lots of people prefer a 4 at the back over a 3-4-3. I do. But we recruited a 3-4-3 coach, and we should have seen it through. And WILCOX is a twat for trying to change it. He's a coward. You recruited Amrim, and you sacked him after a year without giving him the players or the project. You should have stuck to the project, and you shouldn't have listened to everybody saying back 4. Because now we're playing a back 4, we've still dropped points to Burnley. And we sacked Ten Hag with a back 4. And we sacked Ollie with a back 4. And we sacked Mourinho with a back 4. The back 4 is a preference. It's not a fix. I prefer a back 4. It's more pleasing on the eye. But it doesn't solve the problem that the midfield is shit and we don't have the right width. So back 4, 3-4-3, it won't make any difference. We will still drop points where we shouldn't do because we don't have midfielders. So midfield 3, midfield 2, it's still not good enough. Back 4, 3-4-3, it's still not good enough because it isn't the formation that's the problem. The formation is just a preference. It was never a fix. So I prefer a back 4. I do. I prefer a back 4. But it doesn't stop us drawing to Burnley because we haven't got... The people who thought Amrim needed to change were idiots. He didn't need to change. He's a 3-4-3 coach. If you recruit him, you back him, and you stick with him, and you stick with the project. If you don't want to play 3-4-3 and you want to go to a back 4, why did you recruit him in the first place? We're now going to go to a back 4 and we're still going to drop points because ultimately we don't have a good enough set of players. That's the problem. And we wasted so much time talking about formation and changing formation. And I said this back in March last year. The formation is irrelevant. It's a preference. It's not a fix. You still need the players to play the back four system. You still need the players to play the three. Ultimately, if you want a back four, we're not winning the league or getting top four with that team. So if you want to play a back four, you still need to spend money. And if you want to play a 3-4-3, you still need to spend money. Either way, you still need to spend money. You know, singing an Ollie song ain't going to work. You need to spend money. That's what you need to do. Right, let's do player ratings. So, here we go. We're ready to go. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm going to whiz through these. I'd give Le Mans a 6 today. I mean, he can't really do anything on the goal. And, you know, he hardly had anything to do. Hardly had anything to do, did he? So, nothing there. Darren Fletcher's the manager for Brighton, apparently. Beth has just mentioned that to me. So, there we go. Delow, 5. I mean, it just offers nothing. Absolutely nothing. I actually felt for a long period of the game he wasn't even playing. Really poor, really poor. Maybe he's, you know, in mourning for Amorim, I don't know, but he still got picked. Heaven, I'd probably give him a 6. I don't think he did a lot wrong. It was a deflection. He should have scored a goal on the back post, but he's a kid. And I can't remember how old Heaven is. Is he 18? 19? I mean, look, I'm not going to give Heaven a bad time. He's, you know, it's not really his fault, is it? Martinez, again, probably I'd give him a 6. Quite an average performance for him. Luke Shaw, again, a bit like Delow, I'd give him a 5. You know, I think Martinez could have done better on the second goal, but Luke Shaw just seems to duck out of 50-50 challenges. You can't have a defender who doesn't want to make a challenge. You can't have a defender who doesn't want to make a challenge. Casemiro, 5 as well. Really poor. Player runs off him for the goal. Yeah, just a really lethargic bag of potatoes, sponsored by Walkers. Gary Lineker's doing the interview performance. Agate, again, probably a 5.5. You know, the midfield's massively a problem, and you know he wasn't very good. Dorgu, I actually 6.5. I thought he did really well. I think he could have gone as high as a 7. Bright spark in the team, always an attacking outlet. Lovely cross for the second goal. He's very raw. You know, he's not a finished article. You know, there's a lot of mistakes in his game. But I think for a kid who is, you know, playing in a Man United side and is one of our better players, I thought it was a decent performance. You've got to remember, he's a kid. I'd probably push him up to a 7, actually. Bruno can have a 7. I like him in the 10. 2 weeks out with a hamstring injury and he can give us an hour. Scored a good goal. He's got to play as a number 10. Cunha, 5. Really off it again. Don't know why. Look, without a shadow of a doubt, Cunha is a fantastic player. He's a fantastic player. And for some reason, we destroy players. We saw it with Mbeumo in the last month before he went to the AFCON. I don't know why, but he isn't playing well. Sesko, really pleased for him, 7, and my man of the match. 2 good goals, and a bit of confidence for him, and hopefully he can build on that. Very, very pleased for him. And look, somebody said we're finally giving him service. What a crock of shit. He missed big chances against Villa. He missed big chances against Leeds. He's been getting chances and not scoring them. He did score them today, so well done to him. Yoro came on and did okay, 6. Mainu came on and did okay, 6. Mount came on and was poor, 5.5. Lacey came on and was great, 7. Xerxes came on and was poor, 5. And then Darren Fletcher today, I'd give him a 6. I don't think he can do any more. You know, he's had 2 days training. He picked the right team. He picked the right formation. We didn't do any long throws. But ultimately, the quality isn't there. And we can't beat teams like Burnley. And that's a big problem. And that reflects on the board, not on Darren Fletcher. I don't know why that's done that. Okay, we're not getting a man of the match. Man of the match was Benjamin Sesko with 72% of the vote. I don't know what went wrong there. Absolutely no idea. So yeah. Somebody says laugh my arse off leaked. Oh, you know an email address. Oh my god, leaked. Oh my god. You don't know the fucking password. Anyway, the password is password 231. Right, let's get over to the... Well, look, actually, before we go, let me do this. This is what's worrying me tonight. We're 7th in the league. It's very congested. And somebody just said in the chat, shout out to you, I can't remember your name, we are actually 4 points off 13th. 4 points off 13th. And we've got 2 games that we might lose both coming up. We could start to plummet very, very quickly. I just don't know what the board is. I just don't know what the board's going to do now. I don't know what the board's going to do now. I really don't. But they have to buy. And most of all, every ounce of blame has to be aimed at that board. They are sinking this football club. And if you think about it, everybody wanted Ollie sacked. Nobody liked his football. He was called a PE teacher. There was leaks from the dressing room that his training was basic. We paid him £10 million to sack him, and now we're bringing him back. That's the strategy of the board. Instead of sticking with the manager that they brought in a year ago and buying in players in January, their strategy is to sack and pay that manager off, bring Ollie back, and not buy midfielders. It's absolutely incredible. Like, what they're doing to the football club, it's incredible. It's a shit show. Right, let's get over to the fan forum. They've got lots for you to talk about. Get yourself over there now. I will speak to you on the 10 o'clock show tomorrow morning, but we will spam the chat with Sack the Board, please. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody, and thank you for your company today. And let's get ourselves over to the fan forum. Take care.